Hey, good morning, girls. Sorry it took a little long there. I'd actually reboot the phone, re-sign into Facebook. It was just, somebody must need this topic this morning, you know? So good morning. Happy Wednesday. We're halfway through the week and almost to the middle. Actually, we're past the middle of the month already. So 2017 is definitely not a slow-moving month. Looks like it's going to scurry right on past us. Or 2017, a year, excuse me. It's going to scurry right on past us. So hang on, get in the mixing bowl, and hold on because we're going for a ride. Today, we're going to talk about satisfaction. And when I think about that, I think of, growing up, the song, and I don't even remember, maybe it was Kiss that sang it, Can't Get No Satisfaction. How many of you have that thought in your head when you hear the word satisfaction? Well, I can't get no satisfaction, and I'm not going to sing for y'all because you'd end up closing out the video. So anyhow, what is the deal with satisfaction? And we're so searching sometimes to find what it is to satisfy our soul, satisfy our spirit, satisfy our mind, our heart, all of it. And we just keep searching in all the wrong places, We keep looking to things or substances or people to satisfy what our longing needs are. And we've really got to change that because there is only one place that we can be totally satisfied. And that's with Jesus Christ. That is at the feet of the throne. That is sitting and spending time with Jesus, girls. So let's take a look at our verse today. And then we're going to chat a little bit and then get us on our way for a busy day. Today we're going to look at Psalm 62, verse 1. And it says in there, "My soul finds rest in God alone. My salvation comes from Him." My soul finds rest in God alone. And I think what happens, girls, is we tend to look for it in all these other places. Some may look for it in their relationships that they have with their spouse or with their significant other if you're just dating. You could be looking for it in substances. Maybe there's alcohol or non-prescription or even prescription drugs involved. But see, what we find is that even through all of that stuff, we still sit there alone and empty because our soul longs for that relationship and that closeness with Jesus. So all of this other stuff just means that we're spinning our wheels and trying to catch up. See, because when we look at satisfaction, life moves so fast. We're seeing that right now. January 18th, we're 18 days into the new year. And where did it go? I still remember New Year's Eve and just saying, wow, we're already at 2017. Where did Thanksgiving go? And now we're almost done with the first month of the year. So our life passes fast. Everything around us moves really quick, right? It's like everything does this and we're trying to keep up. That's why we're exhausted. We try to put on our capes and our Wonder Woman bracelets and we try to conquer the world. And if we're not grounded, if we're not at that place where we're satisfied in our soul, it's really nearly impossible to do it. Because see, girls, we are not a superhero. We are not Wonder Woman. We are not Supergirl. We're not Superwoman. We're not Catwoman. Whatever, Elastic Girl, whatever all these other superheroes are, because that's all fiction. The reality is, girls, we can only do what we're equipped to do. And if we're not tending to the need of our soul, then we're not equipped to keep going forward like that. And with life passing so fast, it's really important that we stay grounded and we continuously stay grounded. And the example, to give you a visual that I want to use here, is that of tending a garden. So those of you that have a green thumb or maybe have tried to grow stuff, when you get out there and you plant, there's something about tilling up the soil, right? You're getting your hands in, you're tilling the soil, making sure the nutrients are in there. So we need to do the same thing with our body. We need to be making sure our nutrients are there, we're eating, we're drinking the water, we're taking whatever supplements we need to do, we're nurturing and taking care of the body, right? So you plant. So you plant these beautiful flowers, produce, whatever is growing in your garden. Now you have to tend to it daily. See, because we don't just plant the garden and walk away from it. Just the same as we don't accept Jesus and think that's all. It's like, ding, that was easy, it's all over. It's only begun. Because see, girls, when we plant in our garden, it's only begun. We've put the stuff in our garden, and now we take care of it. What happens? In our garden, we have to make sure the weeds are out. Got to make sure them bugs aren't gnawing on your plants. You've got to feed it. You've got to water it. You've got to make sure it has a sunny spot. And the same thing goes for you. You need to be continuously grounded and fed. Now, yes, we need to make sure we're eating the physical food, but we also need to be taking care of the spiritual side. And this has to be on a consistent, ongoing basis. Because see, alone, we can't do this. You've got to be feeding your soul. And you've got to be feeding it with what God has for you. Even if it's a verse a day, girls, something to feed your soul. I have some girlfriends that can spend hours just digging into the Word and journaling and doodling and all that stuff. I have other friends that are lucky if they get 15 minutes. Neither one is better than the other. What happens is they're all feeding their soul. They're getting that satisfaction from what God has. And that's where we need to be pressing in. But if we don't weed our garden on a regular basis, our plants become choked and strangled by the weeds that produce nothing, that suck the life out of them. And the same thing happens in our lives, girls. If we are not constantly being grounded and in the Word, we get choked out. We can't thrive. We can't move forward. We become exhausted. We become overwhelmed. And in some cases, you may get burned out. You've got to be nurturing yourself. You've got to be feeding yourself. You've got to be weeding your own garden internally. This tending to your soul, that we can call it, because you tend to your garden, tend to your soul, you must do it daily. Okay, because the day you don't do it, girls, the enemy is going to plant a weed, and that weed, unacknowledged, unremoved, unaddressed, ignored, festers and grows and will choke things out. You don't want to go there, girls. You want to be strong and thrive and be this beautiful, abundant, fragrant garden. That's how you want to see your life. My soul finds rest in God alone. My salvation comes from Him. Are you tending to your soul daily? Is your satisfaction in Jesus Christ? Or are you still looking for other things to satisfy you? And be honest. This is time between you and God. You don't have to tell me. You can just say, pray for me. But here's the deal. Are you looking at a relationship to be that satisfaction to your soul? Are you turning to food to be that satisfaction to your soul? Are you turning to alcohol to be that satisfaction? Or is it drugs? What is it that you are finding and leaning on to satisfy your soul and to fill that longing? Is it Jesus? It's that simple. And I know I hit a hot spot today. I know there's some of you that are struggling in this area. And it's not to beat you up today, girls. This is to help you identify what you need to thrive. As women of God, we were meant to thrive, not just survive. If you're not tending to your soul, you're not tending to your garden, you're going to be choked out by the weeds. You just have to make that choice to what's more important. God doesn't care when you tend to your soul. He doesn't say, oh, Robin, if you don't do it by 8 a.m., then you're not doing what you're supposed to do. No. God does want our first fruits. According to Scripture, He wants the first. He wants our best. He doesn't want our leftovers. But if you are squeezing Him in because you have eliminated Him on a daily basis, squeeze Him in. Because what's going to happen, that little tiny effort that you're going to make to read a verse a day, or maybe you're just listening to Morning Minutes and taking whatever scripture comes out of that little tiny time, what's going to happen is your soul is going to start to be fed and nourished by God's presence, that you're going to want more. That time's going to expand. You're going to start longing for that time with Him. Because that's how we're created. We were created by God to want Him, to celebrate Him, to worship Him, to serve Him. And in turn, we get an abundantly a blessed life. What have you used to satisfy your longings, desires, and satisfy your soul? What are you using? I want you to ask that question to yourself and be totally honest. Nobody's checking your homework. Be totally honest with yourself. What have you been using to satisfy your longings, your desires, and your soul? Is it Jesus? Because only God can satisfy. And until you grasp that, and until you have that relationship with Him, to where you press in and lean on Him and seek Him for satisfaction, you're always going to be missing something inside. You're always going to feel like everything you're doing is not enough. Do you want to thrive in 2017? Or are you okay with being mediocre and just surviving? Some people are good with that. That's not what God desires for you, though. He desires that you thrive in your life, that you have joy, that you have peace. What have you used to satisfy your longings and your desires? And are you ready to press into Jesus and understand, receive, embrace, and start living with the fact that the only place to get satisfaction for your soul, for your mind, for your body, is in God? Again, Psalm 62, 62 verse 1. My soul finds rest in God alone. My salvation comes from Him. And one more time, I'm going to ask you today, what have you used to satisfy your longings and desires? It's time to press into Him. It's time to weed your garden, tend to your garden daily. Because if you don't tend to your garden, you cannot help anybody else. You're going to walk around at your church, in your ministry, in your job, in your business, looking like you've been sucking on lemons. unapproachable, and pushing folks away. You're going to be that example that you hear other people say, why would I want to be a Christian when look at you? We are a light that needs to be shining brightly. And if we're not tending to our garden, if we're not weeding it out, and we're not finding our satisfaction in Jesus Christ alone, then we're missing it. We are missing that opportunity to shine so bright and to thrive as a woman of God. So I'm going to ask one more time as we close out today. What have you used to satisfy your longings and desires? Do you press into Jesus, or are you using food, alcohol, drugs, relationships, shopping? We could go on and on. Or are you pressing into Him? Psalm 62:1, one more time. My soul finds rest in God alone. My salvation comes from Him. Press into God, girls. Time to weed your garden before those weeds start choking out the good fruit that God has for you. All right? Have a blessed day. We'll catch you tomorrow. And I'm off to drink my cup of coffee. Bye.